we are going to be on the ground. And I would encourage you, if you have a blanket, to put a blanket underneath you just for the mobility factor. We're going to work in the same vein. We'll start with just some nice, soft, gentle movement, trying to move the body. I am going to add some strength in. If there's any strength pieces that do not work for you, you do not do them. It's okay, right? And you're still going to survive. Come on down to your back. If you like the gentler version, you drop down to your elbows and then you slowly roll down, L5, L4, L3, etc., all the way until your skull makes contact with the blanket. Take a moment and just make sure those shoulder blades are not up at your ears, but you don't want to jam them down to your buttocks either, right? It's always that happy medium. And then legs, same two positions I always offer at the beginning of a class. Is you can have the feet on the ground, feet a little wide, knees lean in, or you can extend the legs out to straight, right? Once you find that beautiful broad collarbone, hands can totally come back to the belly. You're gonna tune in. And I was, telling Miss Carolyn and I were talking a little bit about doing yogurt at home, and I was saying one of the things that I think is kind of cool about this is you're at your house. We're all very much into our own practice. And I think for some of us, even though we don't try, or we try not to, maybe I should say, be competitive or want to do what the teacher's doing or want to please or this, that, or the other, right? I think when we're here in this environment, we might tune into our bodies just a little more and really do what our body wants as opposed to what we think we should do, what the teacher says to do, and what the person next to us is doing. So try to cultivate that while you have the chance here in your own practice and really find out, what does your body like? Take a moment, tune into your back body against the floor. It's that test strip we've been doing. You're noticing as you scan through, like the head, does the head want to tilt to the right or the left? Does the chin want to jut up to the ceiling or down to the chest? You're not making adjustments, you're just noticing. And then notice if your neck is anywhere near the floor or kind of what the distance of. Usually most of us don't have our neck down here. However, some of us have a bigger arch than others. So just tune in. And you might even notice that into the first part of your upper back, that's probably not touching the floor either, but your shoulder blades are. Does one shoulder blade have more weight down towards the ground than the other? Does one shoulder or shoulder blade feel like it's further up towards its ear, its respective ear, than the other? And then right about that middle upper back, kind of towards the bottom of the shoulder blades, usually the spine starts to make contact with the floor again, so notice that. We're still in your thoracic spine, it's called right now. And then when does that thoracic spine start to come back off the floor for you? Right, as we approach the low back, the lumbar spine. Where is your lumbar spine lying on the ground? Is it off the ground? And as you move down into the hips, again, I encourage you to check into the weight, right? Is one side, the right or the left, feeling more weighted to the earth? And that's a little pelvis portion, right? And not necessarily permanent thing. And then also, do one of your hips want to move further up towards its respective ear or shoulder than the other? Maybe the right hip is hiked a little higher towards the right shoulder than the left. And again, you don't have to try to adjust this. You are observing all of these things. It might be muscular tension that's holding you in that pattern, and maybe just some movement will help release it eventually. And then check into the back of the legs. And if you don't have your legs extended and just your feet are on the ground, you can check into the weight of the feet and still play with that as one foot more weighted down than the other. Notice if one leg, for my friends who have extended legs, is one leg more rolled out, what's called external rotation. Or you could judge that by, are your knees moving further out to the right and the left or more up to the sky? Don't adjust it, just notice. And then noticing the same thing with your feet. Are your feet rolling out towards the right foot towards the right, left foot towards the left, or are they up towards the ceiling? And what I notice in mine, just to kind of point something out, is that my right knee isn't too far out. It's somewhere, not quite lined up with the ceiling, but my right foot is very far out. I have what's called torsion in my right shin bone, right? So I've started to learn these things about myself from these kinds of observations. and working with some pretty wise people, of course. And then from there, we're going to go into that first motion, which is our, I'm going to call it half frog or half supta baddha konasana, right? Where you drag your right heel back and you let that right leg stay out weighted and wide. And then you push your right heel forward to the front of the mat. And we'll alternate. Go ahead and let the left heel drag up as the left knee moves out to the left. And again, try to let that leg have weight and reach that forward. So that's the pattern. You know the pattern now. So find your rhythm, your breath. I didn't bring you into your breath in your morning awareness, your beginning awareness. So start to tune into that. Use this movement as a way to tune into your breath. And just notice if one side is feeling a little tighter or more restricted. Maybe the heel moves closer to the pubic bone on one side than the other. Don't try to force anything, just nice and gentle gliding. And more than anything, using this as observations and what I like to think of as an exploration of your body. And breath and mind, of course. And the next time you have the right foot pulled up, you're going to pause. You're going to bring the right knee up to the sky. We'll meet there. The foot is on the ground. I'm demoing if it doesn't make sense, of course, but I will encourage you not to look at the device too much because chances are every time you do, you're cranking your neck and your upper back. And that's not cool, right? Tee those arms out, palms up, meaning not cool to your body. That's all I mean. And as you push into that right foot, you're going to let your right hip lift and twist just a little bit to the left. And setting that hip back down. So hopefully this is pretty familiar. Most all y'all have been with me for a few classes now, right? Pushing that right foot down, letting that right hip lift. And next time you got the pattern, find your own rhythm. Maybe your head turns towards the right as your right hip moves a little forward and to the left. Okay. And then the other piece that I've been bringing in is when you're in that twist, think of your right kidney moving forward to the right front of the rib cage and see if that doesn't get you a little stretch in that right back side body. And if you want to hold the next one when you are up and over, you might pause and hold. You might find that you actually prefer just flowing on the breath, and then just do that. Bring that right hip down. Let the right knee whoosh out to the right. Push and slide the right heel forward. And then pause before we do the left side and just notice if your side bodies feel any different. Drag the left heel back, knee up to the sky, foot on the earth. Inhale. And with an exhale, we're going to push into that left heel and start to let that left hip lift over towards the right a little bit, moving into a twist. We're just getting into the body, just getting into those twists. So you're in your pattern. So just start to move. And then after you've done one or two, maybe you start to add the head into the mix. I don't add the head automatically often with twists because I like to concentrate on what's happening low. And then once I got that down, then it's like, oh, what happens if I add this piece in? How does that change things, right? And then maybe if and when you're ready, you hug your left kidney forward towards your left rib cage when you are up in the twist and just see if that doesn't amplify your low back stretch without forcing the body into anything. And you have two options. You can either do a couple more of those on the breath, or you can hold while you're over in the twist and just pause there. Notice what's tense or tight or restricted. Bringing that left hip back down, letting the left knee move over to the left and just soften down and pushing the left heel, sliding it forward on your mat. Bring those arms down just a little bit, make any little minor adjustments so that you're in the basic same position we started class in. You can always put your feet on the ground, knees down, of course, and just check in, see if your back body has changed, its relationship to the floor. Come back into that breath. Adding on, let your right knee whoosh out to the right. That's what that's called these days. Put the right foot down on the ground, right knee moves up to the sky. Do the same thing with the left side. Slide the left heel back, left foot down on the ground, knee slides up. Now the feet are going to stay on the ground, right? Adjust your hips if you need to, or whatever that is. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring our arms in closer to our side, palms turned towards the midline, or I could say palms turned towards each other, right? And then on an inhale, reach the right arm up, just the right arm, and you're going to let that arm reach over any amount towards the back or the head side of the room, whatever that is to you. You don't have to touch the earth, who cares? And bring that back down. So we're going to do this a couple times on the breath, inhaling the fingertips up And exhaling all the way over.
Do I turn my mic on?
And inhaling up. I'll help you out with that. So you keep doing that right. And I'm going to help mute someone here so they don't have to try to struggle with what that is or how to do that. Let me try to find you. I got you, Jean. Welcome. And then the next time you do that, go ahead and turn your head to the left. So it's still the same motion with the arm, but if it's okay with your neck, you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna turn the head towards the left. So this is more therapeutic for your neck and upper back. I've had a lot of friends talk to me, myself included, right, about bringing that down, arm down by the side and the head will turn back up. I don't think I said that part. So hopefully this is just gonna help get a little bit of space in that upper body for you. And then you're going to bring that arm all the way down, head back to a neutral position, and we'll do the same thing with the left arm. So the head is not joining the party yet. It's literally just the arm, right? So go ahead, and I think I split up the breath, but you know, if you want to just inhale all the way over and exhale all the way down, find whatever your rhythm is with the pattern, right? And again, the neck is not involved right now. We're just noticing as we lift that arm up, if that left shoulder is moving up to the ear, if there's any restriction, maybe this hand doesn't get as close to the earth. There's nothing wrong with that. We're just noticing that. And probably about here-ish, if you start to reach the arm overhead and you want to add that, head gently rocking over to the right. So I would say don't pick it up. Don't bear the weight of it. Let it be a rocking motion, right? And just notice if and what that does when you change it, right? We have changed the motion by turning the head, and now there are different muscles that are engaging or possibly stretching. And let's do that one more time, just giving a little bit of love to that upper back and neck if they've been tense at all in you lately. And bring that arm back down. When you're ready, you'll bring those arms out and pause for just a moment. Tune into any sensations in your neck, your upper back, your shoulders. Make sure nothing's saying, hey, that was too much. Don't do that. And then we're going to try to interlace our hands behind our head. Now take a moment and soften those shoulders down away from the ears. I even really gently just walk them down just to make sure the upper traps didn't engage, right? And then we played with this last week. With an inhale, you're going to push your elbows towards the earth. Your elbows might not come all the way down like mine. That's okay, but still push them down as if you had a surface underneath your elbows. Push your head down, push your shoulders down, push your hips down, and you'll end up with two arches in your neck and your low back, hopefully not overarched, right? We're strengthening the muscles alongside the spinal column there. And I'm going to take my time with it, and then you'll be able to move on the breath. And then on an exhale, you're going to push your low belly down so much you flatten your spine. You're going to feel how your tailbone starts to lighten, right? And then let that ripple through the rest of the spine. Maybe the elbows move up together a little bit. Let the head lay in the hammock the hands have provided so the neck is not jammed, right? But let the chin gently move to the chest, and you're getting a stretch in the back of the neck potentially, yeah? But the belly's working like the dickens, okay? So now let's put breath to this. Inhale, same thing, pushing head, elbows, shoulders, and hips down, baby arches. Exhale, pulling low belly down so much we flatten our low back first, and because of that, the rest of the spine curls. So this is your basic cat-cow kind of action, yeah? We're just working it a little differently today. Find your rhythm. And always, always really pull the belly down before you just shove the elbows up or move the tailbone up. Let it move up because that low belly. That way we start to really get into what's called the transversus abdominis. It's your corset. And it's the deepest layer of abdominals next to our organic body. And then from there, we're going to add cross body. So as you come up, you're going to let that right elbow cross over towards, or make it from the shoulder, actually, right shoulder towards the left hip, and come down. Now, you don't have to look at me, and I'm not asking you to, but if you were to look at me, you would notice I'm not really lifting very high as I do this. Next side would be left shoulder towards right hip. It's not about the height, right? We want to work some of the muscles that sometimes forget to participate because bigger muscles sometimes take over, say your psoas, your hip flexors, or maybe the rectus abdominis, which most all you all know as the six-pack abs, right? And we want those to not work quite so much, and we're asking some of the other muscles to really turn on here. When we move this cross body part, Next time you go over to the right, friends, I want to just add a piece in. You might start to bring the left knee in, but let it first be that the abs turn on and then the left knee comes towards the right elbow. They don't have to be anywhere near touching. For those of you who are used to the gym mentality of doing everything really big, really fast, really hard, I'm going to ask you to let go of that as best you can and not be addicted to that. And move in this other way and just see if it's not beneficial in a different way, right? I'm not saying the other one's not beneficial. I'm just saying this one's different. That's all. And they bring different things to the body, which is really cool. And then after you've gone cross body towards the left the next time, or I guess you'd be moving towards the right with the left shoulder is what I mean. You'll come back down. You will have completed your cycle. You'll release your arms down. Maybe let those legs extend out if that's comfortable in your body. And one more time, let's tune into that back body, make little adjustments, but then rest. Notice if your back body is changing. Notice if you feel any sensation through your side core, through your low belly, or wherever that is. And if you're like, nope, but all I feel is a lot of heat and tightness right at the front of my hips, you are someone who overuses your psoas, and you just got that information. You don't usually use your other core muscles. I could do a 3-hour thing on how to try to change that pattern and habit workshop. It's a tough one. And then from there, we're going to roll over under our belly. But here's my challenge to you. Try not to let your head lift and use as few muscles in your body as you can, and be so lazy, daisy, as you roll over to one side and then all the way down onto your belly. Your elbows can be wide. This is called crocodile. And your hands stack and your forehead comes to the hands, especially for my glasses wearer. I'm going to stay up a little higher for vocal quality. So, and let your legs go out about as wide as your mat. So you can kind of curl your toes under and get those big old thighs, right? To kind of help move over a little bit, and then settle your feet down. And just take 3 breaths here in what's called crocodile. And notice when your belly is prone to the mat or to the floor, how the rest of the rib cage has to get a little more active with the breath, because you can't move your belly out as much, right? So it ends up just moving through the side and back body, which is kind of cool. Okay. Bring those legs in just a little bit so they're more about hip distance. And then we're going to do that same half frog pose or Baddha Konasana from this position. So you're going to drag that right knee out and up towards the right shoulder. Don't try to force it up, just as high as it comfortably goes. And then go ahead and slide that back down. This is where that blanket's super duper handy, right? And then let that left knee slide out and up any amount. Try to keep the weight in the hips as much as you can. And so using as few muscles as you need to, right? Think of it as an efficiency. If it helps you think of being lazy, be lazy. Let that right knee slide up. So you got the pattern. You know the pattern now. Go ahead and find your own breath, friends. Pardon me. I ate some goat cheese yesterday. It makes for extra mucus for me. Not that you need to know that, but you know, I'm the girl of too much information. So there you go. The next time the right knee moves out, you're going to let that right knee stay out. Don't get cranky with it, but see if it can just work up just a little higher without your hip lifting too much. And then I would, if I could right now, put a very gentle weight on that right hip just to invite the right knee, right hip down, sorry. Flex that right foot a little bit just to make sure that knee stays healthy. To keep sure. I'm still full of them, even on Zoom, people. All the people in LA are like, oh yeah, I remember that so well. Now you're going to add on with that right knee still out to the side. That hasn't changed at all. I want you to push your right shin and knee and heel down into the ground and see if that doesn't turn on your outer right hip, aka some of the gluteal muscles, right? So again, I'm just gently, not crazy pants. I'm trying to push that leg down into the earth like I could actually move the earth down and indent my leg into it, right?
Let that go. And now one more piece from here. You're going to keep the knee, the right knee pushing down, but let your right heel reach up as high to the sky as it can. Now mine's not going crazy high. Yours probably won't go as high as mine. I've been working these kinds of exercises for a long time because I got some hip issues, right? But try to lift that right heel up towards the ceiling while you're continuing to push the right knee down. We're asking the thigh bone, the femur bone, to go into what's called internal rotation. Take another breath there. Try to lift it a little higher with one more inhale. Ooh, bring that down. Now I got one more piece before we're completely out of here. Did I already say that once? Oops. From there, you're not actually going to lift it. You guys know that. I want you to try to lift your right leg off the ground. Ha, 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 ha. I'm nowhere near. Like, I don't even think I take but about, one little piece of pressure out of the floor. But I'm trying like the dickens to lift my right knee up to the up towards the sky. Release that and let that right leg move back. And pause. If you want to go into full crocodile and let the legs go a little wider, uncurl the toes and just notice your right thigh, hip, gluteus area, gluteal, I guess I should say, area compared to the left. See if they feel the same or different. Walk those legs in till they're about hip distance. Slide that left knee out and up. And again, without trying to really overachieve, let that left knee comes up a little higher anyway. Flex the left foot. This helps keep the ligaments and tendons of the knee engaged so we don't hurt our knee joint. And then again, first thing is just pausing here. We're not really doing anything other than imagining that the left hip has a little bit of weight on it so that that left hip just really gently gets the stretch through that inner kind of groin area. Okay, the next piece is that you're going to push down your shin, your knee, your ankle, all the way, the heel even, down into the ground. So the left lower part of the leg, knee down, all gently push down into the floor in an attempt to engage your left buttocks. Now, when I say that, don't go to left buttocks and just get squeezy in the left buttocks. That's not the point, right? The point is when we move that leg down into the ground naturally, gently, softly, that left gluteal area will start to learn to turn on and work. Take another breath. And then the next piece is that you're going to leave the left knee down, even think of pushing it into the earth to try to lift the left heel up to the sky. And if that causes any kind of impingement, I would say move the knee further towards the bottom of your mat, right? We don't want impingement, but we are trying to rotate your femur bone. If you think of the front of the femur bone, right, moving down towards the ground and even towards the back of the room for there, that heel lifts up and you're moving into what's called internal rotation. We don't work this side nearly as much as external rotation, right? This movement, I should say. Go ahead and bring that leg down. Last piece is you're actually not going to lift it. I haven't seen anyone do it yet, though. Maybe you are the first. Tell me if you do. I want to come look at it in the camera. But otherwise, you're going to lift your left leg off of the ground. Think of the knee lifting up, right? So don't worry about the shin. We already did that part. I want the knee to lift up off of the earth. Try to lift the knee. Keep the low belly tones in. Find the breath. I lose my breath every time I do this. Oh, let it go. Whew. Go ahead and reach that leg back. Go full wide crocodile if you want to let the legs come out a little bit. Soften down. There's nothing you have to do except for maybe just take a few moments in observation and notice what's going on now in the left side, lower body compared to the right. We're going to move back to child's pose next. You're going to bring your legs into hip distance if they were out wide. Bring your hands next to your low floating ribs. Pull that belly in so you have a protection mechanism for the low back as you move to hands and knees. Get yourself set up, knees a little wide, big toes touch, buttocks towards the heels, assuming that your hippies are okay with that. Hips or knees, if they're not, remember you can always leave the hips a little higher and that might alleviate some of that business in there. And Miss Lynn, I'm really curious about that sequence. That was part of that I was curious about for you. So we'll talk about that later at some point in time. Forehead might come to the ground, but maybe it's on fists, right? Whatever you need. Maybe the arms are by your side. Take another breath there, just letting that low back lengthen. And we're going to come up to hands and knees and do a couple of cat-cows. So you might move that blanket. And if you're someone who likes knee cushions like I do, I would fold that blanket a couple of times and make yourself some padding for underneath your knees. We won't be here long, but I just don't even do it anymore. I have one knee that goes in and out of sensitivity at all given points in time. So I don't monkey. Okay, and when you do make it, if you're not there yet, it's not a big deal. Inhale, reaching that chest forward. You'll join us when you get there. It's okay if you miss one or two of these, okay? And exhale, pulling that belly up. Belly, 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 belly. Belly is what makes this happen. And move through cat-cow a few more times. So I would encourage you, just as a different way to work it, because otherwise we just always go into our same dang patterns, right? Is that when you inhale the chest forward, think of there being a ceiling that you can push your head, your shoulders, your buttocks up into, your hips, right? And find those baby arches, the strength beside the neck and low back. And then when you exhale, low belly, low belly, low belly, pulls that up like the Dickens, flattening into the ceiling above you, yeah? Go ahead and do one more of those. And then we've got one more piece of strength here and then a downward dog. So we just played with this on the ground. I'm in hip strengthening mode. I don't know why. I was last week as well. So from there, think of being a dog at a fire hydrant, right? Keep your low belly toned up and your spine really long and try to let this just happen simply from the femur bone, right? Lift your right leg out like you're a dog about ready to pee on a fire hydrant. No nice way to say that. Okay. And then push that left foot down, push your hands down, lengthen the spine, lengthen the spine, lengthen the spine. Now you're going to try to bring the right knee forward towards the right elbow and then try to slide it up to the armpit by pulling your low belly and rounding the spine a little bit. Yeah. And let it move down to your elbow. Oh, I'm such a jerk. Go ahead and pull it up to your elbow, pull the belly up, round the spine a little bit and bring that back and down. I love you. Get neutral first, right? Buttocks back, chest forward. Try not to let anything in the body change except that hip joint, the leg moves up, right? That left leg comes out like you're peeing on a fire hydrant. And then from there, so don't let the left hip lift, or try not to anyway. Push the right shin down on the hands. That's your stability, right? Go ahead and bring that left knee forward towards the elbow. We're not really rounded too much here, but now we will round. We're going to pull the left knee up to the elbow by pulling the low belly up and rounding the spine into that cow or cat we were just doing, right? And then move a little more towards cow, or think cow as the knee comes towards the elbow. You got one more of those. Pull the knee up. And I know I've got a sensitive wrist friend out there. You can always do this on fists. We won't be here long. Bring that left knee down and back and go ahead and move into downward dog. Walk those hands a little forward, curl the toes under, and head on back to your downward dog. If you do have sensitive wrists and downward dog doesn't seem right, you might just come down to child's pose, soft wrists, or anything like that, yeah? My downward dog friends, feel free to pedal the legs or sway hips, but if you do it, let it be intentional, right? It's not just wiggle, wiggle, jiggle, jiggle. I gotta jiggle, jiggle. It's, oh, wow, if I pulse through, right, I start to open my calves. If I sway my right hip to the side and walk my left hand forward, I get length in the left side body. So play with what it gets you and what it benefits you rather than just using it as a way to fidget. That's a hard one for me. I am little Miss Fidget, holy crap, right? Through the middle, inhale. Let's walk our hands back and get off of those arms for a second. Hands on the shins. You're gonna go ahead and you're gonna reach the chest forward. And exhale, folding in. One more time, hands on the shins, reaching the chest forward. Pause. If I were to put a ceiling above you, what would happen if you pushed the back of your head, your shoulders, and your hips gently up into it, right? Hands on the hips, elbows up. Inhale, come all the way up. Ah, we made it, we're standing. Come on up to the top of your mat, friends. Okay. So from the top of the mat, let's go ahead and add a little, I want to give a little upper body love along the way, even though it's not necessarily focused on the upper body, right? But go ahead and interlace your hands behind you. Keep the elbows a little bent. And push your thumbs into your sacrum and see if you can't roll your shoulder heads, those outer shoulders, back a little bit. And I've got quite a few friends in this group who, like me, going to sway back. So we're going to keep our back ribs lifting off of our back waist. I think most all y'all know who you are, right? And then from there, don't straighten the elbows today, okay?
We're going to keep the elbows a little bit bent, but we're going to try and bring it into a forward fold. It's more about the upper back, so I'm going to suggest you bend the heck out of your knees and really focus on the upper body, right? So fold into wherever your edge is, and your edge would be where you feel your shoulders want to round down to the ground. Now, can you bend your elbows up to the sky, right? Can you lift your shoulder heads up to the sky? Now, maybe you start to reach the knuckles back a little bit, but I would encourage you to keep just a baby bend in those elbows and soften the head in. Maybe those knuckles, as you soften in, start to reach up to the sky. Maybe they don't. Maybe you're working with a strap. All of these are beautiful. Take an inhale. And with an exhale, we're going to reach our knuckles back. And, oh, sorry, with an inhale, reach the knuckles back and inhale. Come all the way up. Said that totally incorrectly. You could do it on the exhale. It's just a little more work usually. Go ahead and release those arms and let them come on down. I just lost one of my earbuds. Give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. Okay, so now we're going to add one more piece to that, and this is a strengthening factor, right? So you can go back to interlace. I'm not going to take that away from you, but you might try to bring your finger pads together to touch, right? And it just takes a little more strength to do that. So from there, pushing your finger pads into each other, bending the elbows back, rolling the shoulder heads back, nothing has changed, right? In that fashion. I want you to see if you can reach the knuckles down just a little bit, your fingertips, not much, keep a little bent. And same idea, bend your knees and try to keep the finger pads, push the finger pads, push the finger pads, lift the shoulder heads, but soften the neck in, push the finger pads. And if this one makes sense, add into it, the finger pads push in, but your upper outer arms, can they move out away from each other? Can they pull your triceps away from each other as your finger pads push in? Take an inhale. Ooh. Exhale, bring those hands down. Let's inhale and come halfway up, and we're going to stay down, and we're going to step our left foot back. So go ahead and step your left foot back. From there, get nice and tall and long. That might mean blocks for you. That might mean fingertips. I usually work with blocks, but I'm trying to show the options without. I want y'all to feel like you're included, right? Keep that right hip in and back. Keep that spine as long as you can. And then bring the left knee down. Uncurl the toes and inhale, reach the arms forward. Maybe you stay in this jackknife, knee down jackknife for just a moment. And then with your inhale, you're going to come on up to your low lunge. Hands could be on thighs or hips, whatever works best for your body. Soften those inner shoulders, those upper trapezius down. I got a lot of you friends with me today too. Me too. And then from there, you're going to go ahead and you're going to bring your hands behind you, but try to press your finger pads together, roll your shoulder heads back, open the chest, and then keep an element of that. Inhale, reach the arms back up. Exhale, coming down. Step back to downward dog or your variation of downward facing dog. Breathe. Inhale the left leg into the air behind you. Now go ahead and bend the knee and let that left hip float or stack up on top of the right. Right? Push your hands forward and down and really move the right hip further back, the left knee further back. See if you can't say hi to the front of that left hip area. Coming back through center, we're going to do a torturous version of bringing the leg forward. Put your knees down and step it forward if you're like, no, I'm not. Come forward towards plank. Round and bring that knee towards the elbow. Pull your belly up into cat and bring it to the armpit. Now look forward and step the left foot forward and then push it forward. Little extra core work today, I know. And then on fingertips or blocks, we get really, really long. Right heel back, right? We're just turning on all the muscles of the core, everything that supports our spinal column. Bring the right knee down without losing that. Uncurl the toes. Maybe you stay in half jackknife. I say half because the knee is down, low belly pulling gently in. Inhale, coming up into your low lunge. Remember, you have many options for your arms, whatever feels best in your body. And from there, frontal hip points pulling up, right? If you're up for that upper back business, one more time, you can always go to interlace if you're like, I don't like that finger pad stuff. Maybe those finger pads push together, bent elbows, elbows reach back, shoulder heads reach back, chest reaches up. It gives you a little upper back bend too, yeah? Now keep an element of that as you reach the arms back out and up. Feel the pull from the frontal hip point through the pinky finger. Exhale, hands down, stepping forward to the top of your mat.
Inhale, chest forward. Exhale, folding in. And inhale, arms can come out or hands on hips or whatever feels right for you. Do that version, please. And I'm going to introduce something here. So stay with your arms overhead. I'm going to come a little closer. You can see me because we're going to add it into the next round. Now I want you to have a high bar in your hands, right? So you're going to turn them forward, and then I want you to grab your high bar and you're going to pull your high bar down until your elbows are about the height of your shoulders. They might go lower if you're working with a shoulder injury, or that helps any sensitivities, okay? Now, I want you to see if you can, without being crazy, don't flare your ribs out. Can your elbows and your hands just move ever so slightly back behind the shoulder line so you find your upper back bend, yeah? Now inhale, keep that, reach the arms up. You might even find that the neck, when the spine moves in, comes into a baby upper back bend, and bring those arms down. Whew. A little bit of work, right? So you may add that in when we go into crescent. You might not. You might put knee down. I'll give all the options along the way. Okay. If you know you're going into crescent or you're going to try, you can move that blanket off to the side, by the way. If you're like, I'm not sure, just leave it. Inhale, reach those arms out and up. And exhale, folding in. Inhale, reaching the chest forward. Bending knees, planting hands, stepping right foot back. All the same stuff, but quicker. Get as long as you can. Now, we're going to try to come up. You can always put your hands on your thighs or put the knee down. Inhale, reach those arms forward and up. Bend that right knee a little bit, just a little bit so you don't crank your low back. Find your pelvis, right? Now, that thing we just did, grab onto your high bar, really pull yourself up like you're going to do a chin up, right? And find your point. Maybe elbows below, what are they called? Shoulders. Now see if those elbows can move back just a little bit without your ribs flaring forward, and then reach the arms forward and up as you try to straighten that right leg any amount back behind you. It doesn't have to straighten all the way. And it shouldn't hurt the low back or get the heck out of Dodge. Exhale, bring it down. Stepping back, downward facing dog. This is going to be the hardest stuff we do today. If anyone's like, you said we were going to do some gentle stuff. Yeah, we did. And now we're not. Go ahead and inhale the right leg up, but remember, you take what's right for you, yeah? And bend that knee, heel towards buttocks. Maybe that right hip stacks on top of the left. And again, push the floor away with your hands so that left hip and the right knee move further back. Come back through square. We have that torturous version on this side. You ready? Or you just put the knees down and step it forward. Come forward to plank. Now, go ahead and round the spine, bringing the knee towards the elbow. Pull that belly up and try to hike it up to your armpit. Look forward. Try to float the foot forward and or push it forward. And here we are in our high lunge. Yeah. Moving into crescent. Long, long spine before you go anywhere else. You hear my heavy breathing, right? I know this is work. I'm doing it too. Inhale, reach it up, bending the back knee a little bit so you're not in your low back. And that stays that way the whole time if that's better for you, okay? From there, grab your high bar. You're going to pull your chin up on that high bar, your whole body weight, right? Now keep your ribs in as your elbows gently move back. Find that little upper back bend. Maybe the neck extends, and then maybe you reach the arms up. Maybe the left leg straightens a little more as you move towards this version, the classical version of crescent. And exhale, hands down, stepping forward to the top of your mat. Inhale, reaching the chest forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise, your arm variation. Knees can always be bent, whatever feels right for you. And bring those arms back down to the side. Pause, close the eyes. I wonder if your body feels any different than when we started class. How so? And what are the similarities? What still feels the same for you? I always point out differences, but gosh, I want to try and start pointing out there are many ways that sometimes it stays the same. And nothing is good or bad, only thinking makes it so. It's just observations. Okay, so if you need to turn to face the device, or you have a particular way you want to do tree, let me say that a little better. You don't necessarily have to face me by any means. We're going to get into it a little different today, just so y'all know than the way I usually teach it.
Standing up nice and tall. I'm going to take a quick drink because I can already tell I'm pasty. Okay, thank you. So from there, find your right foot feels more weighted into the earth, right? Find something to look at that's probably not me. If you need to glance at the camera, but otherwise, when you look at something moving, right, it's harder for balance. You're going to bend your left knee, root that right foot down, try to bring that leg up towards your body. And then from there, let that knee move out to the side. When we were laying on our belly, that was this. That's interesting. Go ahead and bring that foot onto your thigh, anywhere but your knee joint, right? And it can drop really low. Toes can be on the earth. Go to what feels right for you, okay? Let that left hip drop down, meaning don't let it hike up to the shoulder like it really wants to do. Bring your hands together at your chest if you can find that. Rooting down into that right foot. The more it roots down, the more that glute that we worked, do you remember that business? Can that glute hug in? Now I want you to imagine that you have a surface at the back of your left knee, and it's isometric. If there's a surface, you wouldn't actually move your knee, but you're going to move your knee into an imaginary wall, and you're going to feel how that hugs the left glute in as a support system, yeah? If you want to play with the arms, add that in. If I could put you against a wall, I would put you against a wall and actually literally have you push your left knee, the back of it, right, into a wall. And you can do that. You're at home. If you want a wall, grab a wall. And then from there, go ahead and try to control that as much as you can on the way down. I would say with as much grace as you can muster, but sometimes my grace looks something like this. So, you know. Okay, so now really rooting through the left foot, right? Both feet, yeah, but this is the one we're gonna be on, right? Find that length. And then hands can always come to the hips. I forgot to tell you that on the first side, if that helps you stabilize, right? And then you're gonna bend the right knee, push that left foot down. Bring that right knee up towards the chest, any amount. This is my harder side. And then let that knee move out to the side and place that foot. And again, just take a moment and be aware that this is pretty much the same position we were in minus the foot, yeah? When we were laying on our bellies and on our back body at the beginning for that matter. So from there, right, wherever that foot lands is totally awesome. Check into that right hip. If it's jerking up to the right shoulder, can you lengthen it down? Can you really root into that left foot and find that you rise up out of that, maybe hands at heart. Before you raise the arms, my request is push that right knee into the outer right knee into an imaginary wall behind you, right? And see if you can't hug the right glute in today. We're on glute day, yeah? And then maybe those arms reach up and out. Maybe they don't. You don't ever have to play with branches. There's no branches prerequisite by any means. And breathing from there, checking in on all my chickens. Okay, and if you're falling all over, welcome. I'm glad you're playing. And bring that down with as much control as you can. Okay, so we're gonna come on down to the mat. I would love to have you come down through, hold up. I should never say that because everyone starts to move. You guys know me better than that. If I know, walk those feet out wide. If you know you're a tight-hipped folk, you might have something, a chair would even work or something to put under you. We're gonna try and work for a moment in a squat, right? So have it handy if you need it. Walk your feet out what would be as wide as your mat if you're looking at the short edge of your mat, but I'm gonna stay forward so y'all can see me a little better, right? And inhale those arms up. And exhale, let's bring the hands to our heart and sink through center, supporting yourself if and when you need to on a surface. But if you're fine coming down, you'll come all the way down. They're all wonderful, right? The hips might be high. That's okay. They can still work from here. If you're working and you're feeling stuff, that's fantastic, right? Now, as I do that isometric action, I do a push-pull, thighs into arms, or knees more appropriately. I lengthen my spine. And then push those inner heels down, right? So that you feel your pelvic floor start to lift up. And does that help you lengthen your spine, right? So again, it's core work. It can be. It's also hippie. Inhale, bring those hands down. Let your buttocks come on down. Let's let those legs come out wide. And then you're not real close up on me, but hopefully I often talk about your toes being straight up. Just because we worked internal rotation earlier, I want you to see from your femur bone, not just your toes. You can rotate your femur bones in, but yes, you will feel or see the toes kind of move in towards what we would consider pigeon-toed, right? So see, and if you can't do it, it's okay, but try not to let them go back. That's external rotation. We want to at least stay neutral if we can. Now, if you can keep them in internal rotation, for your forward fold, you do. If you're already like, oh my God, my inner groin are like, woo, you're gonna stay right there. Not a big deal, right? Try to keep the legs in internal rotation on your journey in. And then play with it. Once you're there, right? And I'm not saying what's the most comfortable, like you could take a nap here, right? But what's the most comfortable for your hip joints and the stretch that your body needs? Now let the toes start to move up towards the earth or ceiling, right? Or turn them a little forward and just kind of feel what you think your work is in this pose. For me, I go into external rotation like crazy. I used to walk like a duck. I've come out of a little bit of that pattern, but I sure could use usually internal rotation. But sometimes my SI joint doesn't care for this, so I wouldn't do it at that point, right? So, you know, you do what you got to do in your body. Inhale and reach that chest forward. Come on up. Let's bring our feet together. I like to grab my inner knees and help that transition. Feel free to sit up on a blanket or a block or some such thing. And then we're gonna do, I think we did this last week. I'm pretty sure this is one of my new favorite moves from Chaternwin, something like that. I have to figure out how to dang pronounce it. I've only seen it spelled. Walk your feet a little further forward so your heels are actually further out from your pubic bone. Yeah? And then you're gonna bring your hands towards the shins, mid shin or so, depends on your body. And you're just gonna rock back and forth a little bit. And you can kind of bring that arm down onto the leg to ensure that you don't fall over. If you don't feel safe doing that, you could just bring your arms out to the side and you could support yourself that way as well, yeah? And then as you do that, as you rock to the left, let your right shoulder kind of bring you a little forward. And then as you rock to the left, your left shoulder. And so just kind of let the opposite shoulder rock you down and in a little bit. Maybe your hands come towards your ankles. And then we have one more piece before we do our forward fold. The next time you rock to the right, I'll meet you there. We're going to stay there for a second. Now, you're going to slide your left hand up towards your thigh, right? And it's not so much that I'm pushing the thigh away as I'm pulling my waist out of my pelvis. And I might even move my body back and twist just slightly up towards the ceiling. Maybe even look up. If that hurts your neck, just stay looking forward. But think about your left rib cage twisting a little bit as you hold that knee in place and just pull your left side waist out of your left pelvis. Say, hello, baby. There's actually more than one muscle. Hello, babies. And, ooh, come back down. Rocking over to the left, and I'll meet you on that side when you get there. Feel free to use your hand for support again. If it doesn't work to support your arm and your leg together, it's totally fine. Right hand comes up towards thigh. And I'm going to lay my body back against an imaginary wall, a little rib rotation, maybe head rotation. If the head hurts, don't do that. The neck, I mean. And then you might just gently hold that knee in place and think about pulling your right waist out of your hip. Well, I was going to say joint, but it's not so much your hip joint, out of your pelvis, I'll say. Maybe that makes sense. Take another inhale there. And rocking back down to neutral. Inhale, reach that spine up and forward a little bit, and then maybe you soften in. Now you get to play. If you want to leave the heels out there and you're like, oh, that's kind of nice. They're two totally different stretches, by the way. If you're like, actually, I think I'd find more benefit with the heels closer, you can do that one. You can find out which one your body's like, yeah, that one. And no, is it an addiction? It's like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is the best pose. I know that this, that, and the other. You know, I saw the Buddha do it. I haven't seen the Buddha do this pose, but you know. Inhale, reach the chest forward and come on up. Coming onto our backs. Having any kind of support system we need for our Shavasana around us. Pardon me. Feel free to use a little stronger core to come down. That could be walking down the thighs, but you can just bring the elbows down if you're like, yeah, no, I'm pretty done with that core stuff she's been making me do. And let's start by just hugging our knees into our chest. But put your hands on your kneecaps and circle your knees together. And go the other direction. So just a nice little sacrum massage, low back massage. And then keep the right knee in. If it's okay to extend the left leg out. Hugging the right knee in, we're going to go a little wide, bringing it more over towards the armpit. Stay there for a moment. And then bring it across the body over to the left. If this twist doesn't feel like too much, you'll tee the right arm out and you'll roll onto your left side body. That left hand, I just kind of put it on my outer right knee. And it's not about the knee getting to the ground at all. As a matter of fact, I usually put a block there and prevent it from going too far in because I'm flexible and I need to work towards stability. That's my body type. Maybe turning the head to the right. If you don't care for that one, I would just simply bend both knees and do a simple supine twist. And inhale, coming back up to center, both feet on the ground for a moment, recalibrating hips or anything you need to, if anything got a little offset. Hugging left leg in. First, just center left knee towards left nipple, right? So right towards your center line, towards your buttocks bone. Extend that right leg if it feels okay to do so. You don't have to. Now, the body stays the same, but I slide my left knee over towards my left armpit and I let that leg go a little wide. We've played with this a few times in class today. And then I bring it all the way over to the right hand outer left leg, left arm tees out, and I roll onto the right side body. And again, if that doesn't feel all right in your body, simply bending both knees, moving to a simple supine twist might be a really delicious twist for you. Head might turn to the left, and that would be any body twisting. And then breathing. Oh yeah, that. And inhaling, bringing the hips back down. Get yourself all set up in that center of that mat and start to make your way out into Shavasana, right? So whatever Shavasana feels good to you. And if you feel like you're missing something, by all means, add in your happy baby, your what have you. And when you do feel ready, you'll start to slide those legs out maybe, but maybe today it's feet on the ground, knees bent. If it feels nice to bring your palms up onto your sockets around your eyes and close out the light and just put a little weight on the eyes to remind them to soften and relax. Arms, pardon me, can come out, but then of course they can also come back onto the body once you find that broad collarbone. And then you're going to walk yourself through your body and try to relax each and every part of the body. And then, you know, work with that breath a little bit. And bring your awareness back into your body. And you're in pretty much, if not the same position you started in. So, maybe one more time, scan that back body. What's the relationship of the back body to the floor? Now here at the end. And then, yeah, any motions you like, or stretching or wiggling or jiggling, add those pieces in. And when you're ready, you might hug the knees towards the chest or put the feet on the ground, rolling over to a side. Come up as lazily as you can, right? Or again, and using as little energy, muscular contraction as you have to. And sitting up nice and tall. Maybe if we're lucky, we feel like we've got a little more real estate in our body, but also maybe there's a little bit more length or support system around that spine so that it can be in spinal elongation. And maybe not, and we observe that if that's the case. Bring those palms together in front of the chest. Take a big old inhale. Exhale, bow the head in. And finding at least one thing to be grateful for every darn day. Practice gratitude. It's not a natural thing for anybody, right? The more we practice it, the easier it becomes. And the more we're grateful for what we have, the more we have to be grateful for. Namaste, friends. Oh, yay. Happy Tuesday.